Alright YouTube, so for this vlog I'll be talking about the 2004 Batman vs Superman canceled movie, which is really fascinating to me. So I saw a forum of actors that were considered for both the roles of Batman and Superman, and I don't know which actor precisely was considered for Batman and which was for Superman. I think the 8 were considered for both either or roles, but point is I'll be talking about this scrap movie and how I think it could have gone, as well as how I think each actor would do as Batman and Superman. So let's dive in. So my top pick for Batman would have to be the classic Christian Bale, and for Superman to go with Paul Walker. So those are definitely my top two picks, and if it was the other way around, I think it would be cool too, because we all know how Bale turned out as Batman, and I think Paul Walker could also be an interesting take on Batman, although I haven't seen an awful lot of his work when he was alive. But I do know both him and Bale were considered for the role of Anakin Skywalker, which is currently some sort of niche-ish obsession I have with Christian Bale as Anakin Skywalker and other actors, how it could have gone. Not that I don't love Hayden Christensen, but that's a vlog for another day, because it's about Batman and Superman, not Star Wars. Although I will reference Star Wars again in this vlog. So for Matt Damon, I could see him as both roles, leaning towards Superman, but ultimately the superhero I think he could be the best as would either be Green Arrow or the Batman villain Hush, but both those ships have kind of set sail because he's aging out of the part, and without Affleck as Batman, it sort of doesn't feel as much on-screen chemistry as it could have been with him as Batman and Matt as Hush. But I do think he's a great actor nonetheless. Classic Jason Bourne movies, and excited to see him in The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan, who also directed the Dark Knight trilogy, which starred Christian Bale, who's the GOAT Batman in my opinion. I heard Johnny Depp was also considered for other Batman movie roles, so I guess this isn't the first rodeo of him being considered as Batman, which has me really intrigued, because I know he has had interesting roles nonetheless, although we haven't seen him in a while on the big screen due to off-screen controversies that I'm not going to get into. But point is, if this was 2004, I could see him as Batman, maybe Superman, but he definitely gives me a lot more of the Bruce Wayne Batman aesthetic vibe, and you know, he has done interesting roles of acting, so I could see it work, especially with Edward Scissorhands, and his voice could work well as Batman too, or it could be cool to see him transform into the role, is what I'm trying to say. But for Superman, maybe, I don't know. Of course, Colin Farrell is our Penguin, and speaking of actors that transform for roles, he was almost unrecognizable as Penguin, and I haven't seen the Penguin series, but I do remember one of my close friends saying he thought Colin Farrell could be a cool Batman, and I did see a little bit of fan art of him as Bruce Wayne Batman, even before the Batman from 2022, or before he was announced as Penguin for it, so I could definitely see him as Batman, and being a pretty interesting Superman as well. So he sort of gives me sort of the actors, sort of the most like sort of middle ground vibes of them. I don't know how else to put it in words. And James Franco, I'd go with Batman, although it could be interesting to see him as Superman. Could have been interesting to see him as Superman with him being in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man trilogy, because I know that would be a big meme that everyone wants to talk about Spider-Man and Superman being best friends turned enemies turned friends and fighting Sandman. And I love Spider-Man 3, but it was a little messy movie, I can't deny that. But sorry, camera got cut off. But I could also see James portraying Batman well, kind of due to his role of Harry Osborn in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, because unfortunately I haven't seen him in too many other movies either. And although Spider-Man, you know, Raimi trilogy is perfect criteria to base a Batman vs Superman movie off of, right? And Jude Law, I'd go with Batman, because he doesn't scream Batman to me, but he does give a good Bruce Wayne vibes, especially with the picture I saw of him in this role. He just screams Bruce Wayne. And time for the other Star Wars reference, I know he was in Star Wars recently too, in Skeleton Crew, which I loved that series, so I could maybe even see him being Batman now. Not really, but back then, 2004, it could have been cool. And Superman, I could also see, he's definitely a great actor. And I know the actor, but I'm blanking on his last name. Josh definitely has a great look for a 2004 Superman, especially in the picture I saw, so I can definitely see why he was considered for it. I'm not terribly familiar with his work, but I do know nowadays he sort of plays these horror movie serial killer style villains. I know from one, for example, was in the movie Trap, which was not the greatest, but I do know he's a good actor, so could definitely see him portraying sort of a villainous Superman or villainous Batman, however, whoever we were supposed to be rooting for in this original script. And circling back, I haven't read the script or too many plot details, but one of them I did read that really stood out to me was supposedly about a lot of Batman villains were retired, or I don't know exactly if that's the right word, but I guess, kind of retired and locked up in Arkham and no plans to escape the deranged villain. So that leads me to believing Batman likely found Superman to be threatening, sort of similar to Batman vs. Superman, but the script probably would have been a little better and a little coherent, more coherent. Not that I didn't like Batman vs. Superman. I am one of those people that did enjoy the movie, but I can admit it does have a lot of flaws. So who knows how this 2004 Batman vs. Superman Asylum movie could have turned out. But I also know from this series, the same year, the animated series, The Batman, came, which was really cool and a lot of interesting villains in it as well, although the Joker's design was bizarre, but he was kind of interesting. And speaking of Joker, I could also see Christian Bale being a Joker in addition to Batman or Superman, primarily Batman. But like I said, since Batman Begins came out the year after and was direction that DC was going with at the time, it almost feels like I can't pick him to be the top Batman for this could have been movie, but there's no rule against it, unwritten rule, and I don't care. But overall, I really enjoyed making this vlog and exploring a lot of these potential actors who and how they could have gone as a Batman vs. Superman. So let me know if you guys want a part 2. Until then, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay for more soon. Goodbye.